All right, everybody, welcome back to the WKNS. This is episode number 3, and we are going to continue our work on the Kempton area. And I've got a little bit of a different approach for this episode, I guess, than the previous one. I want to spend the first part of this laying out some buildings. So I had mentioned in the last episode that I was having a little bit of an issue, like getting enough steam going to get into the flow of this build. And at this point in the build, I'm moving. I've got steam. I'm full blown ahead, you know? But I wanted to try to make things a little bit easier on myself when it got into more scenicking, because this build is different than most of my other builds in that it's more scenery, it's more outdoor scenery rather than city scenery. And so I had to kind of change my approach to how I'm gonna attack this build. And that's what's kind of fun about doing a lot of different builds, is that each one is a little bit different, you know? So I like to challenge myself when it comes to this sort of thing, and I like to come up with new solutions for how to make my build process a little bit more streamlined. And there's a lot of stuff that you guys don't see in the final cut of this. There's a lot of off-camera stuff that happens, a lot of asset searching, a lot of rearranging things and filling in some of the blanks in the background and that kind of thing. But I leave that out for a reason. I leave it out because it doesn't make for good video, and it's kind of the more painstaking part of making these routes. But in this particular part of the build, I'm going ahead and I'm trying to lay out as many of the buildings as I can using the DEM. I also have Google Earth opened up next to me so I can kind of fly around. The thing with Google Earth in this area is that there's no street view, or at least that's near the tracks. There's a street view that's kind of on a main road that's a little bit outside of town, so I could get a sort of a feel for the area. And then the satellite view isn't super great either. It's not bad, but it's not like the normal 3D view you get in a more populous area, so that's fine. But it kind of leaves a lot of guesswork up to me in figuring out exactly what buildings I'm going to use and what they're actually supposed to look like. And as I said in the last video, I'm really striving to make this as close to the real thing as possible. Like, if I could get houses that are at least the same color as the ones that I see in some of these videos and photos, I'll be pretty happy, but that might be a bit of a stretch. I don't know. But to make my life easier, I'm going ahead and I'm laying out as many of the buildings as I can, as many of the roads. I've laid out power lines, a lot of the infrastructure, and then I can just jump in and do the scenery work and do some detail work, which is kind of the brunt of what this build is, and is really what the fun part of this build is. And it's also the part of the build that is good for videos. So I'm going ahead and I'm doing that. At this point, what I'm working on is this creek that's here, and I have no idea what the name of the creek is. I'll have to look it up in my next video or something like that, so I have a point of reference. But I wanted to use this spline water because it's a lot easier to use than the built-in Trainz water system, mainly because this creek kind of, I think it goes down. It's not level, is basically what I'm trying to say. And when you're using the Trainz water, you can make like a sort of a gradient. I don't know really how to explain it, but you can attach water on different heights and get sort of a waterfall-y effect. It's not intuitive and it's not great. So for the most part, when it comes to creeks and trackside water and stuff like that, I use this spline. I think it's called like Creek Muddy or something like that. You can rewind it and see what the name of it is, but I'm trying to outline the areas where the creek bed is going to go, and in fact, off camera, I laid the whole thing out, and this allows me to have a little bit more control over the height. So if there's a downward gradient, I can get that a little bit better, and then later on, I'll add some like rapids details and rocks and stuff like that. And going back to that bridge that I was working on, I didn't finish it on camera, and I did finish it off camera, and I made it one span. If you saw for a moment there, I was kind of struggling with the width of it, and I went to go put a pier in the middle, and it didn't work. I ended up deciding to just go with one span and making it a little bit more narrow for the train bridge. I wish I pointed that out when it was on the screen, but you can always rewind. So yeah, at this point we're working in I believe this part of town is called Trexler, which is just to the north of Kempton. And I don't know many of the details of what this area is, but it seems like it's just a nice small town with one main road and a couple of farmhouses. I could be completely wrong about these farmhouses being where they are, but again, I'm watching cab videos and stuff like that on YouTube, and just trying to distill that down into whatever assets that I can use here. And again, I'm just trying to outline the areas around where there's going to be major forests. And I'm mixing up a variety of trees that I think look really good. They're bright, they fit the area. I mean, I say that they're bright, but they're not like out of color, like out of reality. Like, I think they look good, they look natural. And I think that this mix looks pretty good. I do end up in the future adding a few other varieties of trees and shrubs and stuff like that, but I'm really happy with using these STRMM combination of trees and shrubs to get this really full underbrush and full forested area. It looks really great from track level. I don't know if I have any closer views of it. I'll have to remember, if I don't have one in this video, to try to bring that in the next one. But it definitely has a really nice undergrowth, like thick feel to it, and that's really difficult to achieve without using 10 bajillion assets, and I'm trying to be really conscious of that, not putting down too many grasses and shrubs and trees that are just going to completely tank people's computers. I'm still trying to come up with a solution for that, but I'm sure I'll come up with something. I'll start bringing in some billboard trees and stuff like that. For this part of the trackside area, I really wanted to bring in some wildflowers and some different herbs and weeds and stuff like that. This is something that I tend to leave out of a lot of my builds for one reason or another. It just never occurs to me. And I think every spring I go outside, it's beautiful down here in Jersey right now, everything's blooming. So just going outside and seeing everything blooming, I get inspired by that. I'm like, oh yeah, I need to add that stuff into the game. So I'm starting to mix in some different weeds and different grasses and stuff like that, and I really, really like the effect of it right now. But it's really, you gotta be careful. If you're gonna be putting down flowers and trees and stuff like that, you really have to watch out, because it's easy to get really carried away and go absolutely nuts with it. But that's it for this episode. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Leave me a comment down below. Let me know what your thoughts are. I'll see you guys in the next one. Thanks for watching.